Imagine you open your eyes, not in today's world, but 100,000 years ago. There are no hospitals, no doctors, no medicine, no ambulances, no clean hospitals waiting to save a life. Only endless forests, towering mountains, freezing nights, and predators hiding in the darkness. Now imagine something even more terrifying. You are not a hunter. You are an ancient human woman. And tonight, you are about to give birth. But how could any mother survive something so dangerous? Without doctors, without medicine, without even knowing what was happening inside her body? For thousands of years, scientists have searched for answers, and what they discovered completely changed the way we understand human survival. Because this story isn't just about childbirth, it's about how our entire species managed to survive. Every single person alive today exists because millions of ancient mothers somehow overcame impossible odds. But here's another mystery. Why is human childbirth so much more difficult than it is for most animals? Within minutes after being born, many animals give birth quickly and continue their lives almost immediately. So, why are humans different? The answer begins millions of years before the first cities, before farming, before civilization itself. Long before humans built houses, our ancestors made one decision that changed everything. They stood up and began walking on two legs. At first, it seemed like the perfect evolutionary advantage. They could travel farther, see predators from a greater distance, carry food, carry tools, and eventually carry their children. But evolution is never free. Every advantage comes with a cost. As our ancestors became better at walking, their bodies slowly changed. The shape of the pelvis became different. Then something even more extraordinary happened. The human brain began growing larger. Generation after generation, babies were born with bigger and bigger heads. And suddenly, evolution faced a serious problem. How could a baby with a larger brain pass safely through a birth canal that could not become endlessly wider? This was one of the greatest biological challenges our species had ever faced. And yet, ancient human mothers continued giving birth. Generation after generation, century after century. But how? The answer may be one of the greatest survival stories in human history. Let's find out. Imagine the moment the pain begins. There is no hospital, no bed, no doctor waiting to help, only a small cave, a crackling fire, and a frightened tribe. Unlike most animals, ancient human mothers almost never gave birth completely alone. Archaeologists and anthropologists believe something extraordinary happened. Other women stayed beside the mother, not because they had medical training, but because thousands of generations had already taught them something priceless: experience. One woman brought fresh water. Another kept the fire burning through the freezing night. Someone gently supported the mother's body. Someone comforted her when the pain became unbearable. This may have been one of the very first forms of human healthcare. Long before medicine, humans learned something even more powerful: helping each other. But that still wasn't enough. The real challenge was the baby itself. Unlike other mammals, human babies are born unusually helpless. A newborn deer can run within hours. A newborn human can't even hold up its own head. So why would evolution create such a vulnerable baby? Because there was only one solution. Instead of waiting for the baby's brain to grow completely inside the womb, nature made human babies arrive earlier. They were born before their brains had finished developing. In fact, a human baby's brain is only about 25% of its adult size at birth. The rest of the brain continues growing for many years after birth. It was an incredible compromise. A slightly earlier birth made it just possible for the baby to pass through the mother's narrow pelvis. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy, but it dramatically increased the chances that both mother and baby could survive. And that single evolutionary compromise may have saved our entire species. But survival didn't end there, because after the baby was finally born, a completely new challenge began: one that no other animal faced in quite the same way, and it would change human families forever. A deer can stand. The baby survived, but survival was only the beginning. Unlike almost every other animal, a human baby couldn't walk, couldn't run, couldn't even lift its own head. Every hour, every single day, it depended completely on another human being, and that changed the future of our species forever. A mother could not hunt while carrying a helpless baby. She could not travel long distances. She could not protect herself from every danger alone. So something extraordinary happened. Families began working together in ways no other species had ever done before. Fathers searched for food. Mothers cared for their children. Older brothers and sisters watched over the youngest members of the tribe. Everyone had a role. Everyone had a purpose. Scientists believe this cooperation became one of humanity's greatest evolutionary advantages, because a child protected by many people had a far greater chance of surviving than one protected by a single parent alone. But perhaps the most remarkable helper of all was the grandmother. Unlike most mammals, human women often lived for many years after having their last child. For decades, scientists wondered why evolution would allow that. Then they discovered something extraordinary. Grandmothers became the living library of the tribe. They knew which plants were safe to eat, where fresh water could be found, when the seasons would change, where dangerous predators hunted, and how to care for newborn babies. They passed this priceless knowledge to every new generation. Their wisdom helped mothers recover faster, protected helpless children, and gave families a better chance to survive. Meanwhile, something even more incredible was happening. Because human babies remained helpless for such a long time, they had years to observe, listen, and learn. They watched every movement their parents made. They copied every tool their fathers built. They learned every lesson their grandmothers taught. They remembered stories around the campfire. They discovered how to work together, solve problems, and communicate with one another. Slowly, knowledge was no longer stored only inside a single human brain. It was passed from generation to generation. That long childhood became humanity's greatest classroom. Instead of making humans weak, it made humans smarter. Over thousands of generations, those curious children grew into skilled hunters, creative builders, brilliant problem solvers. Every lesson they learned made the next generation stronger. They discovered better stone tools. They learned to control fire. They built safer shelters. They hunted in organized groups. And for the very first time, knowledge became more powerful than instinct. Unlike other animals, humans didn't have to start over. Every generation, each child inherited thousands of years of experience. Every story told around the campfire, every successful hunt, every mistake, every discovery was passed to the next generation. Slowly, small tribes became villages. Villages became civilizations. And civilizations changed the world forever. But despite all of our progress, one ancient challenge never truly disappeared. Even today, human childbirth remains one of the most difficult in the entire animal kingdom. Modern hospitals, skilled doctors, life-saving medicine, and advanced medical technology exist because childbirth has always been dangerous. Our bodies still carry the evolutionary compromise made millions of years ago when our ancestors chose to walk on two legs. Evolution solved one problem, but created another, and that compromise still lives inside every one of us. So the next time you hear the cry of a newborn baby, remember this: that tiny child represents millions of years of survival, millions of ancient mothers who endured unimaginable pain, millions of fathers who protected their families, millions of grandmothers who passed down priceless wisdom, millions of children who learned, observed, and carried humanity forward. Every city, every language, every invention, every scientific discovery exists because, generation after generation, our ancestors never gave up. You are alive today because they survived, and perhaps That is the greatest story in human history. Thank you for watching Mason Explains. Subscribe for more cinematic stories about ancient humans, evolution, archaeology, and the incredible journey that made us who we are today.